and welcome to Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and we'll start with some very good news about yesterday's extraordinary classic Sudoku by the constructor Shy. Shy has said that she will create a setting video on how that puzzle was made, and I for one will be looking forward to watching that. That technique, exosets. I've been reading up a bit about them since recording that video, and I suggested to Mark he might like to make a follow-up video explaining the underlying logic behind Shy's puzzle, and let's just say the response I got is not repeatable on a family show. Anyway, what have I got for you today? Well, this puzzle comes from the incredible Ard van de Wetering, the man behind the Sudoku that has been watched 6.5 million times. We called that puzzle the Sudoku with only 4 given digits. Today's puzzle has double that. It's got 8 given digits. So what's going on? It's called Arrow Twist, and the reports are that this is a beautiful, beautiful puzzle with a trick or two up its sleeve. So I don't know what that means, but we'll find out hopefully in a second or two. Well, a couple of things to mention today. Patreon, we've had some more successful solvers of Matyas Martinka's puzzle hunt in the last few hours, and those people are Shy Nia, Neil Harrington, Dr. Spangle, Frank Noom, Stephanie Barker, Peter Zuger, and Dylan Fitzpatrick. So very well done to all of you. That is tremendous solving, and if you have not had a go at that puzzle hunt, you really should, because it is magnificent, and the comments absolutely agree with that. Arrows app. Now, our Arrows app, which has been a long time in the making, it might be out tomorrow. I'm still trying to find out, but it is out very soon. So depending on which platform you want to get it on, it should be available on Steam, Apple and Google Play, obviously. Now, let's get to the rules of Ard's puzzle. What's going on? We have got normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits may repeat along... digits may not repeat. That's important. Digits may not repeat along the blue marked main diagonals. So these diagonals here have to contain a set of the digits 1 to 9 once each, with no repeats. That one and that one. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage, and there are 4 cages suspiciously in the corners, which is making me think Fistamafel, I'll just say it. And then what else? Digits along arrows must sum to the digit placed in that arrow's circle. So for example, whatever we put in that square has to be the sum of these 2 squares, and indeed of those 2 squares and these 2 squares. So there's a little thing you might be able to do immediately in box 5. I'm giving away tips and tricks here before I even start the puzzle. And also, cells separated by a king's move in chess cannot contain the same digits. Goodness me, I haven't looked at a king's move for a while. So what does this mean? Well, let's look at this 4, for example. Now, if this 4 was a chess king, it could jump to this square and this square, as well as obviously all of these squares, but basically it affects these 2 squares, because these 2 squares could not contain a 4, because if you did put a 4 there, these would be separated by a king's move, and that's illegal in this puzzle. So don't do it, or you'll get the puzzle wrong. And then do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I'm actually going to start with the central box. I've already noticed something about this. Now, a tip for Arrow Sudoku, of which I have been doing plenty, is that you can never put 1 digit in particular along an arrow that has that's more than 1 cell long, and that is the digit 9. If we were to try and put a 9 in any of those cells, we would come up with a problem, because obviously once we added on whatever we put in the remaining cell, we'd have to put a 10 at least in the middle square. So we can't put 9 in any of those squares. So 9 is effectively, it's almost a 9th given digit. Now I'm thinking about strangenesses, because those digits are obviously the digits 1 to 8 now. But then, whatever they are, their complement in terms of whatever brings this. So if this was a 1, we would know this square was an 8. If it's a 2, we know this square is a 7, etc. So the tips of these arrows, these squares here, are 8 different digits. I'm going to highlight those actually, because depending on what we put into these squares, you know, if this is a 4, that's a 5, etc. So these have to be different. And they're all of the digits except for the digit 9. Because we can't put 9 on an arrow that adds up to 9 unless it's only 1 cell long, and none of these arrows are 1 cell long. So, what does that mean? The answer is I'm not sure. Probably we might be able to do something with the given digits here, because 7, look, has to be in just 2 positions in box 5 now, and that means we now know approximately where 2 goes in this column, because the 7 is going to have to accompany the 2 on the arrow. So one of those purple squares must be the 2. 3 is the same, look. 3 has to be in one of those squares, which means 6 must be in one of these squares. And so, this is weird. So now that we know 6 is in one of those 2 positions in purple, we know it can't be in any of those squares in purple. And the same thing is obviously true with 2s. So 2s cannot appear in any of those cells. Can we do more Sudoku? Yes, maybe. Look, we can put 7s into those 2 positions. 3s into those 2. 3s and 7s seem to be... Yeah, we've only got 1 4 and 1 8, so basically we're working with 3s and 7s, and that's it. Oh, the other thought was Fistimofel, wasn't it? Is that relevant? Ah. Oh, this is lovely. Absolutely lovely. Right, so we are going to build ourselves a Fistimofel ring here out of these other arrows. I've not looked at these arrows yet, but look at the geometry. So this arrow is summing those 2 squares. This one is summing those 2. This one, those 2. This one, those 2. Let's highlight those squares, and we have now constructed ourselves a Fistimofel ring. We're going to be able to do maths, aren't we? Oh, this is lovely. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, if you have never seen the Fistimofel ring before, these squares here, the purple and the red squares, there are 16 of them. Now, if I was to highlight these 16 cells in these cages around the edges of the grid, it might surprise you to know that these 16 cells contain the identical set of 16 digits to what is appearing in the Fistimofel ring. Yep, I told you, that's it's pretty jaw-dropping. If you've followed the channel for any length of time, you'll have seen me explain this, and you'll probably be sick of it. But one thing we do on Cracking the Cryptic is to treat each video as if we've got a new viewer who's maybe not seen the Fistimofel ring before. And if you've not seen it, it sounds completely absurd to say those 16 cells are the same as these 16 cells, but it is true, and I will show you why. But I will show you why. Let me just check that this might do something, because the maths of this ring is interesting, because I know the ring sums up to 4 lots of 18, which is 72, and I know, yes, and I know from the secret what the purple squares add up to, because this is quite interesting. In fact, I can now see, I'm going to do that. Those 4 squares are 9s. Ta-da! How do we know that these 4 squares are 9s? Well, it's through a bit of maths, a bit of the secret, and a bit of Fistimofel ring. So there is all sorts to explain here. Let's start with the secret. So the secret, which we only tell very special people, is that if you were to add up all of the digits in a correct solution to this puzzle that appeared in this box, for example, you would be adding up the digits 1 to 9, because this box should contain each of the digits 1 to 9 once each. If you add up those digits, you get 45. Now, look at the purple squares. We know that these are all different, and we know they don't include a 9. So, what do the purple squares add up to? Well, it must be 45, which is all of the digits 1 to 9, minus 9, which is 36. So the purples add up to 36. For reasons I'll explain, the Fistemefel ring is equal to these squares, which add up to 72. So we now know that the red squares add up to 36 as well. Now, if the red squares add up to 36, and they are formed of the sum of these circled squares, these 4 circled squares, what on earth can we put in these circled squares to make that maths work? Well, we have to put 9s in all of them, because we can't put 10 or 11 or 12 or anything else in any individual cell. So by making them 4 9s, that's the only way we can get 4 cells to add up to 36. So these are 9s, but I do appreciate that I am taking some of you on a leap of faith by claiming that these squares are equal. So how am I going to do this? I will do this, I will use my Control A, which I now know is a thing. Let's just highlight. No, I'm going to do it. I'll do it using set. I do like the proof of this using set, so I'm going to do it using set. So let's highlight those squares in green, and we'll go from here. So the way to prove Fistemefel, I'll do this as quickly and as succinctly as I can, and as entertainingly, etc. Now, the way to prove Fistemefel is to realise that these 4 green boxes in a correct solution will contain 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9, because we know there'll be 1 set of the digits 1 to 9 there, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. So the greens represent 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9. Now, what I want to do is to treat each of those sets separately. And I want to firstly meddle with one of those sets. So let's take the first set of the digits 1 to 9 and remove 6 of its digits. We're going to remove those 6 digits from that set. Well, in that set, which digits will we be left with? Well, clearly, because we know this whole row is one set of the digits 1 to 9, we'll be left with those 3 cells. Whatever's in those 3 squares will be all that's left in that first set of the digits 1 to 9 if I was to remove those 6 cells from it. So now we can say that the green cells now represent 3 complete sets of the digits 1 to 9, because I didn't fiddle with 3 of them, and 3 digits that are equal to those squares. And we don't know what these squares are, and we don't know where these squares live in these green squares, but we do know they must be there along with 3 sets of the digits 1 to 9. And now I want to move on to the second set of digits 1 to 9 that we know must exist in these green cells, and I'm going to meddle with that one, because I'm going to remove those 6 cells from it. If I remove those 6 cells from that set of the digits 1 to 9, I'll just be left with these 3. So let's remove those. And now I know that my greens must be left in the greens somewhere are 2 complete sets of the digits 1 to 9, and then 6 cells that are equal to these. Let's carry on. Let's move on to the third set of the digits 1 to 9, which I haven't fiddled with at all yet. And think about this column. And I'm going to remove from that set those 4 digits. Whatever's in those 4 cells, I'm going to take it out of that third set. And of course, what I'll be left with is those 5 digits in that set. So remove those, plonk those ones in. And finally, in the 4th set of digits 1 to 9, which I haven't fiddled with at all yet, and we know must exist in these green cells somewhere, I'm going to remove those 4 squares from that. And I'm going to therefore, in that set, be left with those. And now we have an equality between these 16 cells and these 16 green cells. And that is the Fistemefel ring in a nutshell. It is quite stunning, and it works for any Sudoku. It doesn't, it works for normal Sudoku, works for killer Sudoku, works for anything that has sort of normal geometry. So what do we do with this? We get the 9s. I've already shown us how we get the 9s. Let's put the 9s in. I'm going to actually just change the colours of the ones on the arrows so that I can remember that these purples all have to be different. And now I'm going to do what? I'm going to... Right. Yes, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to plonk a 9 in the grid in here, because suddenly my king's move comes into effect. Look, you can't put 9s in those. Can't put 9s by Sudoku in these, but these two are ruled out by king's move. That one is ruled out by the diagonal, so I can place a 9 in box 7. I can do exactly the same in box 1. Again, this 9 is sort of looking down, it's like a bishop in chess. It's sort of ruling out 9s from all of these corner squares. So we can place 9 here, I think. I suspect we're going to get all the 9s. We are going to get that one, and now we've got 8 of them, so we must be able to get the 9th, and we can. So there we go, all 9s done. Now what should we do? I'm tempted to look at maths, actually, because we can use the secret again. So in all of these corner 4 boxes now, I've got the opportunity to apply maths, because I know that the whole box adds to 45. I've got 13 there, plus 18 is 31, so these must add up to 14 without using 3 or 4, which... I don't know. I think there are a variety of ways of doing that using 1s and 2s. It would be interesting though if it was something like 2, 5, 7. The 7 would have to go there. But it could be 1, 5, 8, and then we wouldn't know what we were doing. Or indeed 1, 6, 7. Again, that would put the 7 there. Okay, so maybe let's try this one. We've got, what's that? 17 and 18 is 35. So these 3 squares have to add up to 10 without using a 4. So this is not 1, 4, 5. It could be 1, 2, 7, I think, or 1, 3, 6, or 2, 3, 5. So 1, 2, 7, 2, 3, 5, 1, 3, 6. There's no common digit there. That's annoying. Okay, so this one... Oh, and because we've always got 18 in the boxes... this is by far the most constrained then. This one's going to be less constrained. Those 3 will have to add up to 11 without using... In fact, there's actually no low digits looking at this. So this one is very unconstrained. Now, what about that one? We've got 12, 30. This is 15 without using 3 or 7. Okay, this is not... I don't think this is what we're meant to do. This doesn't seem to me to be restricted enough. So let's have a look for something else. Now no, I already knew there were 7s and 3s in these boxes. I don't see why that's telling me anything. 8 in this box, can't go in. Yeah, maybe we should use the king's move actually, because 8, for example, is locked into one of 3 places in box 2. Oh, I see, you always get a digit like that in each of these. Because of the symmetry of the givens, like the 4 here is relatively restricted. That's got to be in one of 4 squares. The 7 here works the same way. But we don't know that the 7 has to be on the arrows, which is where we would like it to be, because then we would know there would have to be a 2 in one of those. So... now here's an interesting thought. Yes, here is an interesting thought. What do these 10 cells add up to? And I think the answer is 45, because unless I'm misreading this, each one of these dominoes I'm highlighting now adds up to 9 because of the way that the 9s work. So altogether, this sort of 5x2 region, or 2x5, depending on how you like to label your rectangles, is 5 sets of the digits, or 5 dominoes that add up to 9 each, so it's 45. Now we know 2 rows of the Sudoku will be 2 complete sets of 45, so 90. So if that's 45, these ones are 25, so these have to add up to 20. Ah, no. Oh, that felt like a really good idea. The problem again with this is that these can repeat digits as merrily as you like because these don't see each other. Let's try and use... yeah, here we go. Here we go. Let's use column 6 and column 7 because now we've got big digits in these dominoes. So we must have 45 in those. And now what have we got there? We've got 17 and 16 is 33, so 12 into these squares. No, okay. Oh, that's really surprising. I thought that was quite a good thought. I don't actually think it... I don't think it does anything. Bobbins! Let's explode the pop filter. Oh, dear. What am I meant to do, then? Ard, what have you done here? What mischief have you performed in this grid? So, let us think about that. I don't know. Oh no. You see, I can see very minor things. Like, I can see that 8, because of the king's move, it can't go there. So 8 can't go in those 3 squares. So 8 is in one of these 3 squares, which means, for example, 8 can't be here. Because if 8 was here, it would be ruled out of those 3 squares. But 8 not being here means, I suppose, 1 is not here. So 1 is in one of those 6 cells. I really want to know if there's no 1 in this triple. That's very powerful because then I know that this is 2, 3, 5 because this has to add up to 10. Ah, no, I know what I do. I know what to do. It's much simpler than that. Good grief. Right, sorry, I should have seen this absolutely. This is far simpler than adding these squares and ending up with 45. The question to ask is, where does 6 go in row 3? And the answer is that you can't put 6 in any of those squares, because if you do, what do you put in those those 5 squares? The complement to 6 is always 3. So whether you put 6 here, 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 you have to put 3 in one of those squares, which you can't do. So the 6 in row 3 goes there. And that means these add up to 10. This is a 1, 3, 6 triple, and that square is a 3. That's lovely. It's what it is just elegant simplicity and cleverness from the setter. It really is just a lovely thought that's implemented beautifully. So now we can place some 3s down here. We now know that obviously has to be the 6 because we can... yeah, here we go. This has to be 6 because we need those 2 to add up to 9. That is removing 6 from this square, which is plonking it over here, which gives us a 3 as well. Sorry, got interrupted there by the garage ringing to tell me that my car has exploded again, so you'll have to excuse me while I cry silent tears of frustration, but I'll put a brave face in it, or on it, and let's just try and finish the puzzle. So what was I doing? I don't know what I was doing. I was putting a 3 into the central box. So what is that telling me about the cost of bread? It is telling me that I can... I've forgotten what I was doing. Good grief. 6 goes up there. Look, let's try and do some Sudoku. Maybe Sudoku will be our friend for once. 7. place 7 in that box. It's just a gimme. 7 can't go next to another 7, so 7 must live in one of these 2 squares in box 6. That means 2 must be on the arrows, look. I don't know if I know which of those is a 2, I just know one of them is. So perhaps that's not the best place to look. No, I know what I can look at. I was looking at this before, wasn't I? That added up to 45, I remember that. Now I've got 25 there. Yeah, that's right. These had to add up to 20. So those are adding up to 7, these are adding up to 13, and they're not 4, 9 or 6, 7, so this is a 5, 8 pair. Let's put that in. Does that help us know anything good? The answer is apparently not. 8's got to be in that cage down there. Oh, 3. 3 in this cage down here, look, is placed. So 3 might be interesting in box 8, where it must... yeah, it is, look. 3 can't go here, or you'd have to put 6 on the arrow, where it will clash. So that's a 3, which means that's a... Wow, what have I done there? Oh no! What on earth did that do? I don't know, it seemed to reload it or something, but it seems to still be here. That is a miracle. We talk about Sudoku miracles all the time, but what we just saw there was a true miracle where you press an F key of some sort and it really does nearly break you. Okay, so what can we do now? We should... Do we know what these squares have got to be? The answer is perhaps. We've got 18 plus 16 is 34. These are adding up to 11. Oh, maybe it's not actually that clear what these are. I'm not sure. They had to be 45, 33, 12. These were 12, weren't they? No, that doesn't seem to be resolved. Right, okay, we're going to have to think harder. What shall we look at? We can... 3, 1, 6. So these are 2, 4 and 5. Might be the diagonals actually. I've not used those at all that I remember. Or what else could it be? I know what it might be, you know. I used the fact I couldn't put 6 in this run of digits to get a 6 here because of this given 3. Now presumably I can do that all round the grid because it's effectively rotationally symmetric. So what we can say... yeah, we can just perform exactly the identical trick here, can't we? There can't be a 6 in those squares because then there would have to be a 3 in one of those, and that would clash here. So there is a 6 in one of those 2 positions, which is a chocolate teapot 6, i.e. absolutely useless. Now does that... yeah, that must work vertically as well, mustn't it? So I can't... yeah, here we go. You can't put 2 in this string of digits, because if you do, you have to put 7 in that string of digits. It's just gorgeous. So there must be a 2 up here. I can't remember what the maths of this box was. Did we ever look at that? We've got 18 plus 13 is 31. So these are 14. Well, this is useful. Okay, this is useful because now I've got a 2 in this 14 total. So the other 2 digits sum to 12, and they aren't 4, 8 or 3, 9, so they're 5, 7. So this is 2, 5, 7, and you can see because of the king's move good straight, we've got to put the 7 there. And that, well, that gives me a 2, I suppose. And this 2 is lovely. This is sort of working the same way this 3 and 6 did. So it's ruling the 2 out from this square. That means the 2 must be here, which means this square must be the 7. We seem to have a lot of 7s. And we do, but we may... yeah, okay, so where does the 7 go now in this box? It's got to be in one of those 2 squares, which means that's no longer a 7. This is a 7, we need a 2. Now that felt like useful progress, and I suppose I can do, yeah, I can do something similar in this column. Again, I can't put 2 in this string because I'll have to put 7 on this string, so the 2 must live at the bottom of the grid. These were adding up to, well, that was adding up to 11, I think, which means if we've got a 2, we need 9 more. It's not 3, 6, it's not 2, 7. So it's either 4, 5, or 1, 8, and it's not us. So this is 2, 4, 5 now, which means that square is now given as a 1, just using Sudoku. 1, look, has to be in one of these 2 squares, which means 8 has to be in one of those 2 squares, and that, oh come on, I feel like that must be useful, but it doesn't actually seem to be. 8's got to live in one of these 2 squares just by Sudoku. 2, 4, 5. So those squares are 1, 6, and 8. Oh, it's still putting up resistance. It's like my car. You know, my car just will never be mended. And this puzzle may never be finished, but hopefully it will be. Why am I doing that? That's got to be 1, 4, and 5. That's not 1. Don't know. There's a 5 here, look. So this square is now 8 or 5. In fact, that square's 8 or 5 as well, just looking at the row. I wasn't looking at that though. So this is 1 or 4, which we could have seen from this row. So what's this square then? Or maybe I can get, actually that's, I've got a 4, 5 pair here. This square here has either got to be 4, 5 or 8. It's not 5, look, so that's a 4 or an 8, which means this square can't be a 4. I've got every option available in the middle box now. And this square is 1, 4 or 8. It's not 8. Oh, I see. Okay, so in this column I could have got this much sooner, but that's just a 1, 4 pair sitting there. So that's going to be 8, which means this is 1, and that's just going to unwind. Look, good grief. So everything unwinds. We get the whole ring, do we? We do. We get the whole Fistamafel ring. Gorgeous. Right, so now we can get rid of the 4s from here. We can hopefully finish the puzzle. That's got to be a 1, 6 pair. I still haven't used the diagonals, so I might have a quick look at those in a moment, if you don't mind. That's got to be a 1, 4 pair. That's got to be a 3, 6 pair. Therefore, this has got to be a 1, 8 pair. And hopefully, if we haven't made a mistake, that should be a 4, 6 pair. I've got 1, 6, 8 triple in row 8 now, so that can't be a 6 anymore. So that's a 4. That's a 6. Must be a 4 we can place in box 7, which, oh, this is lovely. Now that 4, look, goes up the diagonal and rules 4 out of those 2 squares and gives us a 4 up there, which gives us a 4 and a 1. Now there's a 1 in one of those 2 squares. Don't know which one. 2s and 5s. Oh, and I've got a 1, 6, 8 pair in the last column. I hadn't seen that, but that does place 8 in this box, and we need 2, 4, 5 into those squares. So that's a 2. This is a 4, 5 pair. Now 4 over here. Well, over here, what do we need? We need 7. I can see that. 2 and 7. This 4 is giving us the 4 and the 5. That's giving us the 5 and the 2. That's giving us the 2 and the 5. Lovely. And this diagonal is all but finished. It just lacks a 7, which we can place, which gives us the 7 and the 2. We haven't put a 2 in this box. Now we can. Now we get the 2 and the 5 over there. This box needs a 5. This diagonal's done. This diagonal I still haven't looked at. Right, what have we got? We got 1, 3, 6 and 8 to place. Is there a quick way of doing this? The answer to that is quite probably, but I don't know what it is. Oh, no, there is, because where does 3 go? I have not put a 3 on this diagonal. And it can't go here because there's a 3. So that's a 3, and that's a 3, and that's a 6. Let's get rid of the 5 from there because it's annoying me. And I need 1 6s and 8s to place. Okay, so let's just delete all of that and put 1 6 8 in and do it slowly. Right, so 1 goes there, 1 goes here, 6 goes here, 6 goes here, 8 goes here. That's gorgeous. That actually is unwinding, isn't it? Now this square must be 6, that must be 8, that must be 8, and that must be 5, and this must be 1, and that must be 6. A bit haphazard at the end, but I think we've done it. Yes, absolutely beautiful. That really is just a class puzzle, as again from Ard. What did I especially like about it? What I liked about it actually was the sheer wit of hiding this Fistamafel ring as the first trick, because although I saw immediately these 2x2s and thought Fistamafel, I didn't spot the ring until quite some time after that. And it's sort of, you have to build it up by realising all these squares are different, so therefore all these squares are different. And then using these extra arrows. That was really, really beautiful, the way they slot into place to create the ring. And then after that, what did I do? After that, the thing I think that was really clever is that you could use these given digits to actually significantly restrict what you can place in the ring because of the geometry with the nine totals. It's just really clever, and and it's not that difficult once you see it, but until you see it, it feels impossible. Sign of a good puzzle. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back again later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.
All the chests reveal themselves like a crack in the wall, starting small and grow in time, and we all see